out, engine cut, the fuse blew. The fuses that we had were obviously too light for the engine. Every time we put the headlights on, it blew the fuse. So we've come all the way from South Africa, number one, without headlights, only with dip lights, and we've done about 7 or 8 nights night driving. We also, when we left home, for those of you who heard this morning, I'm sorry I'm going to repeat myself, we ran out of reverse gear as soon as we left home. So we decided this is a good omen. If you're going to go on a hell of a trip that nobody else will be able to achieve, it's better you do it without reverse, because in our minds we decided we're going to end with the beginning, we're going to begin with the end in mind. And if you had reverse, there's a risk that you might say, let's go back. No reverse, no going back. We got into Botswana. That was our first border crossing. We were squeezed between about 2,000 people that went completely ape. It was an absolute madness. There was a delay in getting the passport control, and these guys just went mad. Truck drivers, women, children, people. There was no respect for any queuing, and Geoff eventually was standing taller than me. His feet were not touching the ground. We were squeezed together like this with thousands of other people through one door. How we eventually got through, I don't know. That was the first introduction, and believe me, it was that the whole way through Africa. I swear never to complain about South Africa again. I always complain about the traffic. I complain about the people. We've got nothing to complain about. Our country is beautiful now. Relax. We then headed off into Zambia. From Zambia, we decided we were now going to get early to the border, and we followed this road that we thought was to the border, but it was to a filthy, terribly disgusting, filthy truck yard. So I said to Geoff, let's put reverse in. Oh, we haven't got reverse. So we had to get people to actually push us back, because this was obviously the wrong place. Wrong again. It was the border. It wasn't that bad, ladies and gentlemen. It was worse. It was a real mess. And millions of people, they come up, can I help you with your exchange? Can I help you with your passport? It was complete madness. Then we get into Tanzania. You go 10 minutes in your car, you just get that little white car of mine up to 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour, and you have to stop for a police control every 10 minutes in Tanzania. It was shocking. Then we get to Kenya. We decided we're going to get to Kenya. We'll get our visas for Sudan up in Kenya. We knew it would only take 1 day. Unfortunately, they just decided to inaugurate a new president in Kenya. Public holidays, everything was delayed. So eventually we get our visas for Sudan. Now we could head north. I think every 2 or 3 years, Kenya gets a little bit of rain in the north of Kenya. This year has been raining for 2 weeks before we get there. The dirt road is normally a very dusty road. It's normally impassable to anything except a good 4x4. To try and do it in the Hillman Imp in the dry season is quite challenging. To do it in the wet season is impossible. It took us 5 hours to do 20 kilometers. That was half driven by this expert off-road driver when he could. And then when he couldn't, he handed over to a Land Cruiser who towed us through. And at one stage he goes towed through a very tough section, and then released the tow rope coming out of that section, and decided to go on our own steam again for another few kilometers. And he avoided one quite big rock, and he went straight off into the bush. And I realized that he wasn't such a good driver after all. Meanwhile, it actually wasn't his driving, folks. We had hit a rock when we were being towed, and it put the steering arm in, and it was completely bent in two. So the wheels were just like this. It was like acting like a grader. So we were towed in that condition for around about 15 kilometers, which took the other 4 hours. At one stage, the Land Cruiser got stuck and had to be towed out by a big tipper truck. The photographs are on my blog site. Have a look at it. Then we decided them to be left in this tiny little village, 3,600 people. 6 years ago, there would have been an extra 800. There was 800 people massacred one morning in Turbi, Kenya. Since then, they put a police force to look after the place. We were delivered into the police compound, and we spent the day there fixing the car. We got it roadworthy again. Luckily, guess what I took as a spare, folks? A steering rack. Excuse me. The whole rack. You got that wrong. Your son packed it in. My son is 17, and he's crazy about cars as well. So we managed to get it roadworthy, we managed to get it sorted out, and we knew that we couldn't make it by driving. It was just impossible. We then hired a truck, and we put the car on the back of a cattle truck. The cattle truck got stuck. We went about 6 hours in this cattle truck, sitting on the grids on the top. We thought we would sit in the front with the driver. We weren't that special. We sat on the bars on the top, and the imp was bouncing like hell in the back. We thought it would touch the sides, but it was covered by big plastic bags. We eventually get to a river crossing that was so bad that the truck driver queued up behind the other 10 trucks and decided that it's too dangerous to try at night. He then decided to do it the next morning. My heart was in my mouth. I knew that one of these trucks was going to get stuck, and then our truck was the last one, couldn't make it. What was it, about a 20-ton truck? Has anybody here push-started a 20-ton truck? We did. There must have been about 20 people or 30 people around this truck push-starting it because the battery was flat. It was the last truck. All the other ones had gone through. They couldn't come back. So then we get to Moyale. That's the town at the end of the dirt road. We knew then that Ethiopia's got the best roads, beautiful highways all the way to Asaba. Asaba. It's quite an appropriate name of a town. Okay. It was tar, perfect tar, except for the potholes. The potholes were as big as this. And you could barreling along at 80 kilometers an hour, and all of a sudden into one of these huge potholes, or huge craters. It was complete madness. We did this for about 400 kilometers. It took us until, what time we did, about 7 o'clock at night, from 5 o'clock in the morning. 500 kilometers. The roads after that were better. But the police were worse. They wanted to get jackets that we had in the car, they wanted bribes. All our paperwork is in order, but then they realized that there was a problem with the Hillman Imp. They said, why is this imp broken? The roof rack had broken on the dirt road,